Okay, so welcome to Learn Astrology with Mary. We're not so much learning astrology this evening. We're going to be discussing what's called the Great Conjunction or the Grand Conjunction. And it's two planets that are going to come up, and this is going to affect everybody. So the things that we've been talking about up until now, synastry and whatever, sometimes they don't necessarily happen to you, but this planetary thing that is going to happen is going to affect all of us. Now, it's like a spectrum when it comes to planetary transits. Some things affect some people more than others. So it's like a spectrum. You might be one end of it or the other or in the middle or whatever. But I'm going to go through with it today, the broad outline of what's going to happen. And then we'll get some charts up, because I haven't got any volunteers this evening, so you're going to have to volunteer your charts, and you can chat me with some questions. So I'm going to do screen share, which I always forget where it is. Where we go, share screen, lovely jubbly. Voila. Okay, so hello, Amanda. Oh, you've got your chart right. Well, we'll use that. Lovely when we get there. Super. So the Great Conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. Now, it sounds impressive, doesn't it, a great conjunction? You can have a thing in your chart called like a grand trine and a grand this and a grand the other, and this is a great conjunction. And actually, it's the astronomers that are calling it that, because two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are going to come together, and one is going to block out the other because they're going to be so close together. But in this webinar, we're going to be learning about Jupiter and Saturn and what's happening with them in the next month, which is December the 21st, 2020. So two mid-planets are changing sign. Jupiter has a 12-year orbit and spends 1 year in each sign. It's been in Capricorn for the last year. Saturn has just over a 2-year orbit and has also been in Capricorn for the last 2 years, approximately. They will both now be changing sign into Aquarius. The last time this happened, the last time Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct in the sign of Aquarius was between the 10th and the 16th of January in the year 1405. So as you can probably tell from that date, it isn't something that happens every day of the week. Now, Jupiter and Saturn will conjunct, but they haven't conjuncted in Aquarius since that year, 1405. So what happened then, Mary? From what I can find out, nothing specific happened in that year, apart from an Asian monarch and conqueror called Timur, who died on the 14th of February. What I did find rather interesting was the shape of his chart, which was rather one-sided. So let me just show you what his chart was. I looked at his chart and thought, oh my goodness me. You think you've got a one-sided chart, you ain't seen nothing yet. So we don't know his time of birth, but we do know his date of birth, which is rather cushy. And I've used the whole sign method, I think, here. No, I haven't. Where's the one I've done with whole sign? Is that it? Oh, I've lost it. No, never mind. I thought I'd done it with whole sign, but I don't think I have. It doesn't matter. And he's got a really one-sided chart. Okay. So he's got a whole cluster of planets all squished here. Uranus is right next door to his moon, which is next to Venus, which is next to Chiron, which is next to the North Node. And then you've got Pluto in Aries. You've got just a chunk of stuff in Aries up to Taurus. So this is pretty packed. Ignore the houses because we don't know what time of day he's born. And he's got only one planet in another sign, which is Saturn, and two planets and Neptune in the sign of Capricorn. But because he got such a cluster chart, he spent the whole of his life going around conquering other countries. And actually, as far as conquering goes, he conquered a number of countries. And from what I can find out, not only did he conquer the countries, but the minute he conquered them, he sort of gave up and went and did something else. He obviously got bored pretty quickly. But with that sun sign in Aries, that's the sort of thing you'd expect an ancient tribal person to do. I'm an Aries, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just do my own thing and fight them all and whatever. One-sided chart, so pretty focused on what it was that he did. So that's, again, just a copy of his chart. And that's right. And I did the transits for the day that he died, the 14th of February. I think I've got them on the out. Oh, don't, I've got them in there. Goodness knows where I've stuck everything. But on the date that he died, because Saturn and Jupiter were transiting. So let's see where that would be in his chart. Bing, bing, bing. So this is the Aquarius part of his chart up here. He didn't have any planets in Aquarius, so I couldn't make a reason to why he particularly died at that time. Okay. So let me just go back. But he was the only person. Now, in the 1400s, mind, because we're talking about the year 1405, in the 1400s, there was a lot going on worldwide in the early 1400s. However, most of the events seem to have been wars. So let me just zoom into that screenshot, which I've saved as, I think that's it there. No, don't know what I called it now. Nope. Excuse me falling apart here. Did I change it? I might have renamed it something else. No idea. Basically, there was a whole number of wars. People took over other countries. There was a thing called the 100-Year War, where Britain and France for literally 100 years were fighting each other, which sort of sounded a little bit like Brexit. But for the actual year of 1405, there wasn't any. And don't forget, this is such a long time ago, there's not going to be much that's written. But you can find, this page is from Wikipedia, and you'll be able to zoom into it when I save the PDF later on. There were a number of people that were born then, and a few people that died. But as far as what was going on, basically what was happening in the world is various different leaders in different countries were trying to take over other countries. So what did it look like? In this chart, I've used the whole sign method to demonstrate where the planets were then, so that you can see the chart shape. Now, let me see if I've saved that as the 16th of Jan or not. Great conjunction, we can look at that in there. That's this one here. There we go. Right. So I've used the 16th of January 1405. And you'll find out in a minute. I'll explain a bit more about why this conjunction is so marvellous. Is that right? 16th of January 1405. There's Jupiter and there's Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. Okay, the Sun isn't conjunct it, but Jupiter and Saturn are. Okay, so this is the same thing that's going to happen now. Now, because the outer planets were in different signs, obviously different things happened then. So you've got Venus and Mars are in Saggy, those are sort of international travel planets. You've got Pluto and Neptune in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is all about chatting and communicating, and Pluto is about deep change, and Neptune is about psychic connection. And it just happens at that particular date, the moon's in Leo, but I really wouldn't take that into account. And the outer planet here, Uranus, was in the sign of Capricorn, and so was Mercury. But the key thing about Jupiter and Neptune, I'll explain in a minute, remembering, of course, that this one spends a year in each sign and that one spends 2 years. And on that particular date when they were conjunct, they'd already been in those signs for quite a while. As you'll see there, it's 23 degrees, 23 degrees. Now, the way that that conjunction happened then, they didn't get conjunct until Jupiter and Saturn were further into the sign of Aquarius. This conjunction that we have this year, they're early, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. So basically what we're saying is that Jupiter had already been in the sign of Aquarius the previous year, which was 1404. And Saturn had also been in that sign, but it did a few sort of retrogrades and stuff. So I looked to see what was going on in 1404. Not that much different, still plenty of wars going on, people busily killing each other, travelling around the world and doing weird stuff. But obviously then people could travel, which is nice. Oh, and also, by the way, it was a little while before that the plague happened for the first time in the UK. So the Middle Ages was, I don't know what the word is now, the Middle Ages was overshadowed by that. So what does it look like this time? So let's get the chart up. Here we go. So this is the Great Conjunction this time. And this will be on the 21st of December this year. Now, I've used 6 a.m. as a time. This is where I've done whole sign method. Whole sign method using Aries as the first sign just goes through all the signs of the zodiac, just so that it makes it easier to see which planets are in what signs. And as you'll see this year, and forget about the time, but for the day, this year, there's nothing in this side of the chart. Ignore the North Node, we don't take that into account. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 signs of the zodiac aren't covered, and 6 signs of the zodiac are. Okay. Thank you, Lau. Look at that in a tick. So we've got one planet in a minimum of one planet in each sign of the zodiac, and Jupiter and Saturn don't conjunct until they're 0 degrees, because Jupiter moves quicker than Saturn. Saturn takes 2 years to go through the sign, so the time that they're going to be exact this time round is when they're right at the beginning of the sign of Aquarius, whilst last time in 14/5 they only came together towards the end of the sign of Aquarius, which is 23 degrees, and that makes a big difference, and you'll understand more in a while when I give you the meanings of it and what it all means, because it does mean something. So a normal Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, let me just read you the blurb. So Saturn and Jupiter are the giants of the solar system, each with their own systems of moons. As Saturn's orbit of the Sun takes nearly 30 years and Jupiter's 12 years, they meet precisely every 20 years. This cycle is reflected by vast structural readjustments in society, inaugurating new periods of hope and growth. Every 5th American president is elected under this influence, the last 2 being Ronald Reagan and John F. Kennedy. I'm going to stop there just for a second. This is just when Jupiter and Saturn conjunct, not when they conjunct in the sign of Aquarius. This is, I'm just reading you here, is a regular conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. I was born when Jupiter and Saturn were in the sign of Capricorn. They weren't conjunct, they were a bit apart, but they were in the same sign. So the principal idea of this planetary aspect cycle is initiating and building on new ideas and concepts about the future. As this influence can last up to a year, because Jupiter only spends a year in each sign, everyone born in this period will play a role in realizing a future vision of structural growth in society, and some individuals will personalize this influence to become pillars of this new society. Ideas about banking and finance, building and construction, teaching and education, foreign and domestic policy, the rule of law, etc. will be formulated, developed, run into trouble or bear fruit depending on the different aspect phases. So this is continuation of Jupiter and Saturn. As Jupiter represents a new vision of the future as well as justice and the law, while Saturn represents the executive tradition and the structure of society, the interaction of these planets brings upheaval and adjustments on every level as the past collides with the future. So what's going to happen this time round when Jupiter goes into Aquarius? So the key word is wisdom. Awaken others. This year, and when I say year, I mean astrological year. Okay, so I'm not saying 2020 to 21. I'm saying from December 2020 to December 2021, like we did in the last webinar when we were talking about solar returns. I'm talking about astrological year. Okay, so this year will be infused with excitement and leaps of human consciousness. You can realize the spirit of this time by embracing humanitarian principles and breaking down the boundaries that separate us from each other. At best, become a socially orientated person inspired by powerful beliefs, or at worst, be provocative and opinionated. You must place faith in the principles of equality and fairness. We're destined to awaken other people on a large scale or be inspired by those who do. This will bring powerful, though rather untraditional convictions. Beliefs may be unshakable, but you must have enough respect not to foist them on other people. There is, after all, the freedom of individuals to follow their own convictions. You're likely to build up a large circle of friends in many different countries during the course of this transit. So what happens when Saturn goes into Aquarius? So the key word is self-reliance, social structure. During this time, there's a strong collective spirit of internationalism, and powerful awareness of social interactions in society. We will probably become more aware about social commitment to the group and the responsibility which individuals must show to the whole for things to function in society. In your personal life, you should focus on the energies at play in groups and be keenly aware of your own ability to function socially. This may bring a sense of being very fair and democratically minded and a strong motivation to even out divisions in society. By overcoming innate social inhibitions, you could play an important role in the organisation of groups. This is a time to function better relating to groups than to individuals. So houses. Now look at your chart and see which house you have in the sign of Aquarius and which planets you have there. And then blend the keywords. Jupiter, wisdom, awaken others. Saturn, self-reliance, social structure, into those houses that you have in the sign of Aquarius and the planets that you have there as well. So take this into account. Take into account aspects you might already have with your Aquarius planets. If you've got no planets in Aquarius, look to see which house these two planets will transit. Remembering that Jupiter takes 1 year to transit and Saturn takes 2 years. Thank you. So it's a biggie. It hasn't happened for a long time, and it hasn't happened in the sign of Aquarius since 1404 to 1405. So I've asked you to do your charts and to stick in there the planets for that date, the 21st of December. Remembering, of course, that the transit of Jupiter will only last a year. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a throat sweet because I've got a tickly cough. I was watching an astrological webinar yesterday, and the presenter had got a cough, and I was fretting all the way through the webinar. I wonder if he's got the COVID. I can guarantee I haven't got COVID. Right then. So somebody popped a chart in. I'm sure I saw a chart turn up in the chat. And did I see that? Okay, so Mary, you shared yours. So let me download it and I can screen share. I love that chappie and his weird shaped chart. I thought, crikey, what a fella. Let's get you in the downloads. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. Right. And if I go to screen share, boom. Now then, zoom in. Okay, so we've got Mary's chart, and she's born 1st of March 1983, making her Pisces. She's got Sun Pisces, Moon Libra, with a Sagittarius ascendant. So you put the transits for the 21st of December. Well done, you've done the chart perfectly correctly. And your Aquarius bits are here. So that's your second house of money. Now, Pluto's already there in the sign of Capricorn. Jupiter and Saturn are just about to creep their way in there. When Jupiter gets to be exactly 20 degrees into the sign of Aquarius, which will be next year sometime, it'll be exactly conjunct your natal Mercury. So let's translate that. So Mercury, the things you like to talk about are the house and the sign, that you've got your Mercury in, and you have your Mercury in the second house. So you do like to talk about money. I'm not saying you like to talk about it 24/7, but that's a subject that you'd find interesting. So you might be studying things like business school or how to make money doing something or other. Wherever we got Mercury, I've got Mercury in the 7th house, and I'm always talking about relationships. So that's the type of thing that you'd be interested in. When Jupiter gets there and it's transiting through your second house, Auntie Mary's idea would probably be that you need to study something to do with the accumulation of money. So business studies or whatever would be a useful thing to do whilst Jupiter and Saturn are transiting through your second house, because second house only has one meaning, which is your finances. And I'm right on the side of Donna Cunningham on that she says, sometimes you'll hear about people saying the second house is to do with self-worth. It's not. The second house is purely the financial segment of your chart. How am I going to make money? And the second house is opposite the eighth house. The eighth house is inheritance and money we get from other people. And I've got nothing in mind. So I'm not expecting to, well, anyway, my mum's really passed. So I'm investments, inheritance, that's not a big thing for me. The second, in fact, I've got nothing in my second or my eighth houses as it goes, but I'm not poverty stricken. But where you've got your second house opposite your eighth house, that's your money, the money that you make and you earn yourself. And the eighth house is the money that other people give you without even you knowing about it. So it's investments, inheritance, that type of thing. But the second house is money. You've got your Mercury in there. Mercury is how we think. Jupiter be transiting. Jupiter is a knowledgeable planet. Now, just saying you don't want to study business, like, oh, why would I want to do that, Mary? Keeping in mind the keywords are about self-development and wisdom, okay, and altruism. It's about helping other people and thinking about the group. Now, it's the same sort of feeling as the 11th house, and natally you've got Saturn in there and you've got Pluto in there. You've got a Sagittarius ascendant, which is ruled by Jupiter, and your natal Jupiter is in the 12th. But Jupiter is now going through your second house. So your ruling planet is going through your second house. So I would say during that transit, you're more likely to be able to make more money doing whatever it is that you're doing that you've studied. Was I wrong in thinking that you were studying something? Or you were going to be, so I haven't done, yeah. Is that right, Mary? You were studying something or you're going to be studying something?
Really just trying to study astrology presently. I'm not studying anything in terms of education or higher education.
What do you mean astrology is an education?
Well, I think am I learning anything or trying to study? It would just be really that right now. I mean, I'm already in my career, but I think I'm at a place where I'm trying to figure out if this is what I want to continue to do or if there's something else that I want to do that's more fulfilling.
Let me tell you, I think during that transit, there's going to be more people turning to astrology because Uranus actually rules astrology. Yeah. So if you are already studying astrology, Auntie Mary's advice would be not only study it, but start practicing it. You know, people have got this weird idea that I have to wait until I've got millions of certificates on the wall before I can call myself a professional astrologer. No, you don't. You just have to be confident what you do and use astrology at the level that you have your understanding. Yeah. So when I first started doing astrology, I kept it very basic: chart shape, sun sign, this, not doing too much and using a computer program. I hardly knew any astrology, but I used it in my practice. And then as I got more confident in it and more knowledgeable, then I could do other things. So if you're already studying it, Mary, just go for it. Just read for friends. Read for friends. Start small and work out from there. And then you'll work out to a level that you're comfortable with. You might not want to read to everybody that's ever been born. You might be happy just reading for friends and family, but definitely do it. And you might find you make a bit of, I think they call it pin money in the UK. What do they call it in the US?
Like pocket money? Like small money? I don't know.
What do you call it when you have more than one job and you have a second job? What's that? What's the second job called?
A hobby.
Pardon?
Like a hobby or I don't know if there's a term for it. It's just like a
side job.
It's your like a passion project, like a.
Yeah. What was that you said, Christy?
A side job.
A sub job.
A side job.
S-I-D-E.
Right, that's it. Side. That's it. Yes, that's it. Side working. In the UK, we call it making pin money, making sort of extra. And that originates from women actually use pin by doing sewing and stuff. The only work that a housewife could do would be things like sewing for other people. It still happens now. Look at Etsy. But yeah, that you can make some pin. Remembering, of course, that if you do readings for people, if anybody here fancies doing astrology, make sure you charge a decent amount of money. Don't do it free. Yeah, because if you are here with me on this webinar, you know more astrology than 94% of the population of the world. Okay, it's a very, very small percentage of the population that even knows what sign of the zodiac there is, and the fact that there is a birth chart. It's a small amount of people compared to how many people there are in the world. So the advice that you can give people, just telling them what sign of the zodiac they are and what sign their moon's in. People are fascinated. And even if you're reading, and I did that, I had a computer program, the laptop was sat next to me, and I literally used it was a really nice program, I still got it, but I could right click in it and go blah 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 blah, and I was literally reading it off the screen. They go, oh yeah. Perfectly happy because I knew that the information was accurate because the computer program was pretty accurate. But yeah, money, study astrology.
I Facebook groups are a nice way too. I have some spiritual Facebook groups I'm a part of, and a lot of people like to share, different spiritual things that they do, reading the Akashic readings or astrology or, spiritual guidance. So it's a nice kind of like practice ground for people that you don't really know too well, but, kind of like this group, just people with similar interests. So that's been.
Absolutely, and it is about groups because the sign Aquarius is the sign of groups. But I personally think that the membership of the Astrological Association that I'm a member of, the groups that they've got, the numbers have already increased anyway. And I think that's something to do with the fact there's so many astrological apps that you can get now, and there's astrological podcasts and YouTube channels. And when before you had to buy a flipping book and go and meet somebody at some dark little cellar somewhere, that doesn't happen now. The internet's completely opened it up, and people are very interested in astrology, like very well. I know that because of my podcast download figures, but yeah, definitely. Have you got any questions about your transit, Mary?
No, that was great. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Now I think I saw somebody else's chart. Leah, did you lob yours in there as well? Did I see that? Yes. And I've got Rachel's in there as well. Okay, so I've let's do Leah. Save to downloads, and we'll also save Rachel's, so we'll talk through those. Let's go to my downloads. Layer. Right, let's do a bit of screen share. Stop. Oh, I'm already on sharing. Yes, okay, great. Okay, thank you very much for your sharing the other day for the solar return. Now then, let's see. You've got Leo ascendant sun. Oh yes, you are an Aquarius. Gosh, I keep forgetting. Right, okay, busy. 6th house is the house of work and health. And you've got Jupiter that's going to be, so you're going to have a Jupiter return because your natal Jupiter is 5 degrees Aquarius, and that grand conjunction happens 0 degrees Aquarius. But Jupiter will continue to transit through your 6th house. So the 6th house is work and health. So you need to keep in mind your own health, check it's all tickety-boo. And with Jupiter going through, then you're having your Jupiter return, and it's conjunct your Neptune, your Uranus, your Mercury, your Venus. You've got your stellium there. I'm sure I've sent you the Donna Cunningham book. If I haven't, remind me to send it to you. But your 6th house is work, so it's the routine of what we do every day. Now I've got a client who has a similar chart to yours, except she's got a Virgo ascendant, and she was a nurse, and she has a not as big a stellium, but she had a number of, she still has what I'm saying, she's got a number of planets in her 6th house, but she had a Virgo ascendant. That's quite a nursing sort of signature. But with your Leo ascendant, you're not going to particularly want to get into being a nurse. You're more likely with the Leo ascendant want to do something that involves contact with other people. Leo ascendants can get very wobbly if they're not with others and sort of sharing and doing something creatively. All those planets in your 6th and Jupiter and Saturn transiting through there, you're going to be pinging off onto those. So it's sort of like, actually that's in the sign of Capricorn. Aquarius starts here in Jupiter. It's a bit sort of like, when you go to the fun fair and you've got those things lined up and you have to sort of shoot them like a whole load of ducks in a row, and you've got to shoot them with the gun and knock them all off and knock them down. That's what happens when you've got a stellium and a transit comes past, especially a reasonably slow transit like Saturn. So it's 2 whole years of that chugging through there. Now, in my case, when Saturn was transiting through this segment of my chart, nothing much was going on. But when it went through my 5th, and I've got in the sign of my 6th is in the sign of Aquarius, and then in the 5th, I've got it in the sign of Capricorn. When it went through my 6th house, I gave birth. Okay, so for 2 years, I was having a little baby and bringing him up. When it eventually went through my 7th house, this is Saturn I'm talking about now. When Saturn went through my 7th house, my ex-husband ran off with another woman. So Saturn doesn't always bring marvellous things, but you don't have anything in your 7th house. That might not be how it manifests for you. It's your 6th house. So the work that you do every day will be affected by that. So maybe you decide to take your work seriously, whatever your work is that you do. Maybe it is that you decide to expand on it, because Jupiter will expand and Saturn will contract. They're totally opposite orientated planets. Jupiter connects us with things, makes things bigger. Saturn restricts them, and it's a planet of responsibility. What am I responsible for? Now, in my case, I've got the sun in Pisces in this house here, and Saturn comes past it. I say husband runs off with another woman, and I had to make the decision to divorce him. So the divorce happened when Saturn was going past my sun sign in the second house, because it takes a couple of years. And you need to decide, you need to make a decision under a Saturn transit, especially when it goes past your sun sign. It is the ruling planet to Aquarius and Capricorn. What am I responsible for? What do I feel responsible for? And the 6th house is routine and work. So think of a flavour of Virgo-y type of things, the things that you have to do every day. And obviously you have to do your job every day, but you need to have precision with it, because it's the 6th house. Okay, does that make sense? Speak to me. Turn your microphone on. I can't actually hear you in this. I know you've got your mute turned off. I don't know if you've got your microphone turned up. Yeah, I can't hear you. Do you want to stick it in the chat? Write it. Unless you can get your microphone to work. Both. Harder is Saturn, easier is Jupiter. So you need to get the balance between the two. A Jupiter return happens every 12 years. So it's the lucky planet when it comes back. Normally speaking, especially in the UK, the age 12, because 11 you go to big school. I don't think they call it big school. Secondary school. So you're in either the first part of secondary school or the second year of secondary school, so you're 12. Jupiter returns when you're 12, and normally speaking, that's when you're learning higher things. That's the first time that Jupiter returns. The second time it returns, you're 24. Some people are married then, some people are dating. The third time it returns, you're 30. Sometimes people have finished having kids, are still having kids. The fourth time, because I've had all of these, the 48 when I had one, I can't remember much happened then. Oh, I was already married the second time. The third one, 48, is that 60? I'm good at maths now. I think it's 60, that's right. And then you have your second Saturn return and a Jupiter return when you get to 60. Well, I've had all of those. Jupiter returns nice, actually. It's a lucky planet, and it depends what sign it's in anyway, and in which house it's in. Yeah, but the 6th house is about work and routine. Definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. Both of them. Yeah. So if you're thinking of changing your work, yeah, under this transit, you need to change to, great, you need to change to something that you actually want to do. So it's want, which is Jupiter, and will feel responsible for. So that's the time, sometimes when people have their Saturn return, which you're not having, but you're having Saturn return when you're like 29 or thereabouts. That's when people sort of, want to be promoted in the company or whatever. What was I doing in my Saturn return? I think I got married. Did I get married? I'd already been married. I was 28, I think, when I got married. Yeah, I was a little bit before my Saturn return. Go on, hit me with another question. I can see you writing. Yeah, definitely marketing will be much. Well, I don't know. Marketing will still be needed during a pandemic. People don't stop shopping. I think Amazon's probably been the busiest it's ever been. I was listening to something on the Guardian podcast the other day, and they've had this was people that were working in America in the picking centres, and they said that they've just been so busy. It's just crazy. So marketing, yeah, that'd suit your Leo ascendant. Marketing, however, going for quite a lot of yes, yeah. If you want to do higher education as well, because Jupiter helps with learning for sure. Yeah, those are all good things. Yes. Yep. Even if you're just studying astrology, like I was saying to Mary, that I can't remember when trying to remember how old I was when I first started studying astrology. Late 20s, early 30s, studying it seriously. Yeah, I think I'd already had a Saturn return. Does that help? You're welcome. Now we've got another chart as well. So I think I'm still screen sharing, am I? Yeah, so I'm still showing. So and we've got Rachel, I think, downloaded. Is that right, Rachel? This is your chart. That's Mary's. Let me see if I didn't download it properly. Hold on. Let's go back into the box. Chat box. Boom, 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 boom. There's Rachel. Saved downloads. It doesn't want to do it. What's the matter with it? Let's take it out of there. Oh no, it's Rachel joined the conversation. Let me try. Sorry, I was trying to download what I thought was a chart from Rachel, and it says there Rachel joined the conversation. Apologies. Does anybody else have a chart they want to share? Or ask a question about it? I don't mind if you don't want to share it, you just want to ask a question. Just unmic yourself and hit me.
I've got no planets. I'm in the 4th house, but no planets.
I think I've got your chart on my computer. Hold on.
You probably have. Sorry, I've got it on my laptop, but I'm on the iPad on Skype and on the laptop for the chart.
Yeah, got it. Hold on. What's your surname?
Clark with an E, even though it says Phillips. That was my maiden name.
No, it's right. It's just I've got a couple of Beckys on the laptop. Have you got Libra ascendant?
Yeah, Libra, lots of Libra.
Libra, okay. And then Moon in Pisces in the 5th, correct?
Yeah,
right,
that's
person.
me.
Okay. So you've got a 4th house as Aquarius, so Saturn and Jupiter are going to transit through. So you're going to get the conjunction. Yay! I'm actually going to celebrate that day because it's going to go on my Venus and my Mars in my 6th house of work. I'm looking forward to it. 4th house is home and roots. Okay, the home
and roots. So not family, just home and roots and heritage.
Home and roots. So that's the family that you come from, not the family that you've created. So
okay. That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. And then Jupiter, you can learn from home, work from home.
Yeah, lots.
Will you be able to carry on doing the teaching from home?
Yeah, I am. We're doing a lot of virtual support at the moment with pupils in schools.
Yeah.
Because I move between schools, they don't want me in many schools because obviously everywhere I go, if I'm carrying COVID, I'm taking it to all the local schools with me.
Yeah, hopefully when the testing gets a little bit more rapid, you'll be able to have some tests and stuff. I can't wait for that day when the tests happen. I'm not so bothered about the vaccine, but I think the testing is like knowing if you do or you don't. It's like a pregnancy test. You are either pregnant or you're not. You know, you've got COVID or you haven't. Okay, they might not be that accurate, but at least you'd know, oh, I better stay at home because it's that asymptomatic thing. But yeah, Jupiter and Saturn going through. So it's 2 years in your 4th house and a whole year of Jupiter. But Jupiter, you can max things at home. I don't know. Because you also need to think about the home, the building that you live in is the 4th house as well. So you might want to add value to your house. I don't know, build or something. But
I would love.
Do you want an extension? Oh, you got a bungalow, haven't you?
Love to, but I don't think we quite got the budget for that at the minute. But hey ho, I have got that
Can't you make-
lovely Neptune.
Neptune what? Oh, on your moon.
I've got that nice Neptune in natally that brings me money. So just
Yeah.
appears.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, you never know. You could just wish for it, wish on a lucky star. I don't know. Maybe somebody lives near you. I don't know, some old bloke and he dies and he hasn't got anybody to give any money to. And he says, oh, I'll give it to that nice Becky that lives round the corner. I know somebody that happened to. I know, in fact, I know a few people that's happened to.
Wow.
That they knew somebody that didn't have any relatives and they were genuinely friends with these people. And that when they popped it, they left them some money. So, yeah.
Oh, I better go and see my elderly neighbour then, I think.
Yeah, get friendly.
Haven't seen her for a while.
Right.
Present.
Christmas present, there you go. Well, but don't forget, you see, because it's going through the sign of Aquarius, that is about the group rather than the individual. The individual is Leo and the group is Aquarius, yeah? So that's the opposite to it. And as, because I didn't write that blurb, by the way, that's Adrian Duncan. I'm not that flipping talented. But, you know, he's talking about that it's the altruism of the group, the doing things that are socially conscious, the doing things that will wake humanity, not scare the living daylights out of them. Don't get me started on conspiracy theories. I had a bit of a rant on Facebook today. It's like, if you're going to put conspiracy stuff on my Facebook page, just get off it, because I've got enough clients that are worrying about that. But, you know, if this is about speaking your truth, but not condemning other people's truths, yeah. And it's all about educating people for humanity's sake. And I saw a lovely story today about, I can't remember the name of the actress or the singer or something. And she'd rescued some elephant that had been stuck in some awful zoo for the last 4 years. She'd been campaigning to. And that is a sort of a Saturn, Aquarius, Jupiter conjunction type of thing, that you're going to be releasing somebody from a horrible place for the benefit of elephants. But it's that type of thing, the benefit of humanity rather than the individual. So definitely, if I was Greta Thunberg, yeah, which I'm not, and she's a Capricorn, I'd be really happy about that transit. So maybe people will be doing less stuff to poison the planet. That's normally what happens under that type of transit, hopefully. So, you know, maybe you should start locally to where you live, a litter picking group or something.
Well, who knows?
Those are all ideas. Those are Aquarian ideas.
I'll
about
try.
The Aquarian ideas of saving the planet, saving everything, you know, humanity working together. Those all are sort of Aquarius things. Yeah. And you got that in your 4th house, you know.
I know. I can't even imagine how that's going to play out, to be honest.
Let us know.
I know.
Let me know.
Oh, gosh. Because
sometimes you don't know what's going to happen with the transit until I can only know what happened to me by looking back, because I'm 60 now, so I've had quite a few flipping transits, and I've got all my divorce papers out the drawer earlier. So what date was it? And it was Saturn on my sun's sign that the divorce happened. So there's a build up to it. And remembering, of course, that with all planets, it isn't just one day that you wake up, bing, something happens. There's a build up to it. And this previous conjunction, which was actually started in 1404, there must have been some sort of build up to whatever it was that went on in that year for that particular conjunction to happen. But I think it's a rather optimistic transit. Saturn's happy in the sign of Aquarius, yeah, and Jupiter is as well. It's all air, so it's all going to be new ideas, new stuff. I don't know, maybe you can invent a new app.
Who, me? Oh,
yeah, you. Big responsibility inventing a new app.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I just can't even imagine what it's going to be. I really don't know.
So overall, is it supposed to be good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mary,
I'm good for humanity.
Okay.
Yeah. Have a lovely yoga class, Becky, darling.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you. Sorry,
Catch
guys.
you later. No problems. Okay, bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, Christy, it is absolutely a really, really good transit. It's an optimistic one. When Jupiter and Saturn were chugging through the sign of Capricorn, it was a rather sort of slow energy, and Pluto been transiting through Capricorn for ages. It's all sort of responsibility and people feeling weighed down with those two planets changing sign into Aquarius. It's going to lighten things up. And remembering, of course, that Uranus is in the sign of Taurus at the moment, and Uranus is the ruling planet to Aquarius, and Saturn and Jupiter are transiting through Aquarius. So there's a connection between. So those two things will be forming a square as well. So they'll be rubbing each other up and causing quite a lot of different things. So there's things going to be popping out all over the place, I expect. Well, I don't think it's necessarily good or bad, but because it's air signs, it lightens things up, and it's not so sort of earthy and dreary. Not that every earthy is dreary, but you know, it's going to be a bit lighter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mary, do you have any idea, like any predictions on how this could affect the pandemic, or how it could shift that piece of what's going on in the world?
Yeah, definitely, because we've got the vaccine now. I mean,
Yeah.
there's 7 vaccines in progress. One of them's going to work. You know, I mean, I'm not a great one. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm equally not mad on vaccines. But because I'm a homeopath, and homeopaths tend to sort of let people get better of their own accord. However, since this is a pandemic that's busily killing people, having something that's going to slow down their death or make it not so bad, I can't see that being a bad thing. So I think, yeah, in answer to your question about the pandemic, that is going to carry on for a few more years, because it's the transit of Neptune through the sign of Pisces for another 2 or 3 years, and Uranus transiting through the sign of Taurus. That will continue. That was when it first happened. I don't know if you subscribe to the newsletter or not, but in there I'd identified what happened last time with the planets with the plague when it happened in the UK. Well, not the UK, it came from China, just the same as this one did. And loads of people died then. It was a lot more difficult to socially distance yourself back in the Middle Ages. It's much easier now. We've all got our own bedrooms and our own computers, type of thing. But yeah, pandemic is going to carry on. It's not going to suddenly stop. No pandemic does. The flu hasn't stopped. Why should this stop? It's going to carry on, but we'll adapt and find different ways to cope with it. And I think the signature of that is that one of the vaccines will work. Well, one hopes so. There's 7 in production. They spend loads of money on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Anybody else want to share their chart or want to chuck a question at me?
Can I please, Mary?
I'd like to. It's Maria.
Of course you can. Maria, okay, we've got Maria and we've got Amanda. So can I do
All
Maria
right, Amanda,
first?
go for it.
Oh,
Sure,
okay.
sure.
That's right, go Amanda.
We'll do Amanda.
I can't upload mine. I'm on my mobile, so I'm not sure how to do it.
All right, darling. I'll just do Amanda and I'll come back to you, Maria.
Yeah.
I've got you on your list. Lovely,
Yeah,
lovely.
super. Thank
All
you.
right, Amanda,
That's
you're
fine,
welcome.
thanks.
Let me
Amanda.
try and add mine on. I've probably not taken the full chart, but there we go. We've got most of it there.
Okay.
See if you can see. I just wanted to ask you mainly about Mars in my second house and what that would mean financially for me.
Same as Mary, I think it was. Was it Mary? Was it your chart? Yeah, financially, yeah. Did it go into, where did it go into the chat? Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it should be there.
Let's. I'm so visual. If I don't bloody see something, I can't work it out. Open image. Ooh, God, what did that do? Let's open it again. No, let's see if I can download it. Save to downloads. Hopefully that's file saved. Right. Lovely. That should be there. No, that's Mary. Oh, that must be that. Oh, you saved it as a JPEG, is that right?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Sorry.
Got it. That's lovely. Fantastic. So that's you, Sagittarius Ascendant. Oh, you've used the Placidus system. I'm going to smack your legs.
Oh, you know what? I did change it, but it obviously didn't save when I moved over to
No, it doesn't. It's really hard to do it when you're doing it on a phone. Okay, so that's okay. It is your second house. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's going to transit through there. So if you listen back to what I was saying to Mary, but you've also got Mars there. She's got Mercury there. You've got Mars there. So Mars is about action, aggression, energy. You need to be more forceful about your finances over the next year. So what work are you doing?
Well, I do makeup, but it's obviously been very quiet because we can't do makeup at the moment. And yeah, and I work in retail, but again, it's for a makeup brand, so there's a hold there because there's only so much I can do.
Okay, so is part of your work as a beautician that you have to put the makeup on to the person, or you
Do
sell
apply
the makeup product?
Yeah,
Right.
both.
Okay. Both. Right. You're going to have to develop more the side of it where you rather than the actual going around and slapping it on the person. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you might have to do it via Skype, that you send them the product and then you talk them through it. So you might have to learn how to do your job over the internet. And that's Uranus in the sign of Taurus, getting practical with the internet, because the Uranus rules the internet. And with your second house being money and your Mars there, you actually have to take the initiative on this. I mean, your Mars is 26 degrees, so it's not going to be to the end of next year that Jupiter gets anywhere near it, or Saturn for that matter, but the start of the transits. Yeah. So see if you can do more of your work over the internet. Yeah.
I actually do. I do makeup lessons virtually, like Skype and Zoom and that kind of thing. But it's not something that's been really busy. I'm not quite sure how to make it that way, if that makes sense.
Not sure how to make it. So do people do it on you? I'm sure I've seen YouTube channels about how to.
Yeah, they do that kind of thing. But I don't know, it's not really for me. I would rather speak to a person than a camera. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you want to do one-on-one with people. You've got Sun in the 12th, okay, so you're not going to want to push yourself out there. That's the thing, you see, when your Sun's in Scorpio in the 12th house, you're not going to want, like Leia's got a Leo ascendant, so have I. Just doesn't bother me talking to other people.
Yeah.
You've got.
I really.
You're going to be very shy, so you might need to. Okay, so are you a member of any of the professional organisations? I'm a member of the FHT. Who covers beauticians?
No, I'm not actually. No, I don't do anything like that.
Okay, but you're trained in beauty, yes?
It's makeup, so it's literally makeup application, that kind of thing, rather than beauty.
Right, okay. Even so, there will be some professional organisation out there that you'd be able to become a member of. The membership normally is only something like £40–50 a year. And even something like the FHT, the Federation of Holistic Therapists, I don't know that it specifically cover makeup, but there will be organisations, especially like your brands, like give us a couple of brands of makeup.
So as an example, I work for Bobbi Brown, so it's part of the Estee Lauder brands.
Got ya. Okay. So there will be some sort of registering organisation that you'd be able to become a member of. Now, the reason I say that is because provided what you're doing is COVID safe, because I'm a member of the FHT and we've had loads of instructions. I don't actually get clients face-to-face around me, but there's certain ways to do it that is COVID safe, that you're wearing a mask, and obviously your client can't, but you're wearing a mask and you're sterilising the place and that type of stuff, or you're working in a premises that already has that in place. So you do your makeup in a hairdresser's, for instance, because that's where a lot of beauticians work and makeup artists work. They're in the hairdressers, they're keeping it to be COVID safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And because it's going through the sign of Aquarius, you need to do it in groups rather than one-on-one. And I think the maximum amount you can have in a group is something like 6. And there's no reason to say that you can't do makeup outdoors when we get to the spring. I mean, wouldn't do it now because you freeze to death and die. But as the weather improves, I mean, I've seen people around here in our local park doing yoga and gym stretching exercise, all stuff they would have done in the gym, but they're doing it like in a muddy, wet park and stuff, because they can't do it indoors, and there's no reason why you can't do that. So don't give up your job, don't change it, keep it what you're doing. You're a fixed sign, don't change. But just accept that for the moment it'll be a bit more tricky and you might need some advice and help from a professional organisation how to do it the safest way for you and your clients. But Jupiter transiting through your second house will bring you more money. I can guarantee that. In fact, I'll give you a money back guarantee if that doesn't happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Mary told me, therefore it must be true. But yeah, Jupiter going through the second really helps. Okay, so let's chat. Thank you very much, man. So let's chat with Maria. Maria, come on, come.
Hello there. I've just
emailed it over to you a few minutes ago because I haven't got a clue how to do that on the mobile, how
That's
to download
fine.
it or upload it.
Okay, let's check
Thank
the
you.
emails. Done. Let's see. So we'll do Maria as being our last one because we're just coming up for 7 now. And it'll take a while to open because I've got thousands of other things open. Let's shut them all. There we go. Don't say. Oopsie. Right. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. So you did it on astro.com. You did the 21st of December, yeah?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Let's see what we've
I've
got.
sent you the right one, haven't I?
Soon find out. What email address have you sent it to?
Hold on. Let's have a look.
Oh, I wonder if it's gone in my spam. Hold on. Oops. Hasn't come through yet.
Oh, it's a bit slow, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not come through. So it's either...
It's still in my outbox.
Yeah, press send.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of this because I think because I'm on here, it's being
Sorry, just give me
awkward.
your data. I'll lob it into my computer.
Okay, what is it you'd like?
So, first name's Maria, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, wait a minute. I'll just lob you into my laptop.
Oh, thank you.
Right, what city were you born in?
Edmonton, London.
I'll just use London, that's fine. And the date of birth?
22nd of May, 66.
And what time of day?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning, yeah?
Yeah.
22nd of May,
yeah.
66, 9 a.m.
That's right, yes.
Have you got a Cancer ascendant?
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't got the chart in front of me. Yeah,
Does
I
that
believe
sound
so.
about
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got you. Right, let me stick in the 21st. 21st of December. It's the day before my dad's birthday. Bless. Right then, so you have got your seventh
Cancer,
house. Yeah. So your 7th house is
Right.
in the sign of Aquarius. Right? Bye, thanks for coming. Yes, 7th house. So you're going to have Saturn and Jupiter transiting through there. So are you married, single? What's the personal circumstances?
I am single, really. I have met someone, but I'm single at the moment, really.
But you're dating somebody at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. You either are or you
let's
aren't.
say
Say yes. Okay. What sign of the zodiac is he?
He's a Scorpio.
Okie doke. And you're a Gemini, yes?
Yeah.
Double Gemini. Sun and moon in Gemini.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got Saturn and Jupiter, responsible planets going through the house in your chart that's to do with close relationships and marriage. One or two things will happen. Either the relationship that you're in at the moment will get serious or it won't.
All right.
Okay. And what you need to remember over the next 2 years, when you do date someone, that you're looking to be serious. Yeah, because Saturn is about serious things. Because as I mentioned earlier, when I was demonstrating Leia's chart, and I was just sort of saying, you know, I've got my son here. When my ex-husband decided to run off with another woman, these things sort of happen. But when I got as far as the divorce, that was when Saturn was transiting through my 7th house, which is where my son's located. Your son's not located there; it's located in the 11th, which is friendships. Yeah, so you actually prefer to be a friend with someone than necessarily be tied to the kitchen sink and be their wife. Yes. Yeah. So, but it is about getting to the stage where any relationship that you're in, you're taking it seriously, whatever you define being serious is. Yeah. But that's 2 years of you having a sit down and a think to yourself, what is it I want to do about relationships? It's going through the relationships part of your chart.
Right. Is that within the 2 years from the 21st or after 2 years?
From the 21st for 2 years. So 1 year will be
For
Jupiter.
2 years.
Yeah. So 1 year will be Jupiter. So one of those 2
Yeah.
years, the first year will be Jupiter, and then throughout that is because Jupiter's transiting and it'll be a year there, then it goes into the next sign, but Saturn was going slower. So you've got Jupiter going fast all the way through the 7th, and then you've got Saturn coming a bit slower through your 7th house. So Saturn will take 2 years to go through there, and Jupiter will take 1 year. But the conjunction, the grand conjunction that you've got, is just at the beginning of your 7th house of relationships. So that day you will wake up on the 21st, either on that date thinking, do I want to be with him or don't I?
Ah, right. Okay.
That's how it will manifest you. Yeah, 2 planets coming together. The date that it does it is then what's going to happen afterwards. Am I going to take this relationship seriously or not? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Now, because you've got 7th house in the sign of Aquarius, you actually need to be in a commune.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever been in one?
I've not noticed.
But the people that got a 7th house in the sign of Aquarius prefer things like festivals or sharing with people. You know, they don't just want to be with one person. I'm not saying you want to be having millions and millions of relationships and running a harem, but you need to have freedom.
I'm more friends really with a lot of people.
Yes.
I don't get into a relationship with everyone. It's like I'm just friends with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
how
really
I've been
important.
feeling lately. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it'll be really important for you to have a strong friendship. I'm not talking about tied to the kitchen sink, making people dinners and stuff. But 7th house Aquarius, you will really want freedom and friendship. So in fact, friendship might be more important for you than deep love and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't get too serious.
It's funny because I've been feeling like this for a while now.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that means you're coming into your 11th house. That's where your sun and your moon are located. You're sort of taking ownership for what the 11th house is all about. The 11th house is about friendships. It is about groups. It's about saving the planet as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Does that help?
Yep, that's excellent. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks ever so much for that. Thank you.
No probs. Thank you very much for everybody this evening to come along. I'm going to stop the recording, then we'll have a little chat and we'll say goodbye. But we were just today talking about, you're welcome, talking about Saturn and Jupiter and Saturn going into the sign of Aquarius. The last time it did, it was 1405, which isn't every day of the week. And the reason the conjunction takes so long is because, yes, they travel through the signs and yes, they come conjunct. But obviously, because Saturn takes 30 years to go all the way around the zodiac, for them to come together in the same sign doesn't happen every day of the week, which is why we haven't got a lot to go on to say, oh, last time it happened, this is what happened. Yeah. And anyway, outer planets will be in different signs. But what's definitely sure, it's all about altruism, save the planet. Let's be friends. Let's do things in groups. Let's think about humanity rather than just ourselves. We've got to think about ourselves as the group. So I hope that helps.